So good evening, good morning. It's good evening where I am, and it's good morning where my guest and new buddy here, Tamir Goodman, is. It's what is it, 10:15 p.m. in the San Francisco Bay Area and 8:15 a.m. in Israel. And I'm sitting here with Tamir Goodman. I'm very excited to have this conversation with him. And he's just getting his kids off to school. I just watched an amazing TikTok video of his oldest son, who I joked with Tamir before we got on recording. He definitely shoots it better than you did, and you could shoot it. So it was really a joy to watch. So there's so much I could talk about, and I don't want to dominate this because it's really for Tamir. So Tamir's history in the game is really quite amazing. You can't watch it on his website, tamirgoodman.com. But Tamir, do me a favor. At one point in your life, you were known as the Jewish Jordan, which sounds like a lot to carry around. But whatever part of that you want to tell, but just tell me how the game has taken you from being an outstanding player to now doing what you do in the world, and about your journey and about the rough spots and dyslexia and all the stuff that happens along the way of turning out to be doing all the good things you're doing right now. So just start and go wherever you want.
Yeah, I think it's two things. I think you really, really, really need to love the game. It starts with that at a young age. If you really love the game, and then number two, if you have the right people around you, then the game is going to be a positive force for your entire life. And I fell in love with the game. My parents gave me the support from day one. I told them what I wanted to do, and that was the first thing, that your parents back you, your family backs you. They make you feel like you could do something, even if other people may seem or tell you it may seem impossible. Think about it. To be a Division I player is so hard. Oof. To be a Division I player on scholarship and still tell the coaches you can't play from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday is almost impossible, especially, almost 25 years ago. So, but my parents always had my back. Sometimes to have having people around you in life that believe in you is an unbelievable blessing, So that's number one. And number two is having, the best coach who also believes in you. I had my coach who raised me from age 7 or 8. I still talk to him twice a day. Oh. So, you have that blessing, and then you have people believe in you, and then people that show you what the game's about on and off the court. So then it translates. It never goes away. It helps you with your marriage. It helps you in work. It helps you overcome. It helps you beat the odds. It helps you enjoy the moment. It helps you be, time management. It helps you be creative. It helps you come up with solutions. It helps you be an amazing father, an amazing husband. It helps you in relationships. It helps you in learning how to always see the big picture. It helps you, never be mindful of everything, be thankful of everything, be in the moment, win one game at a time, bounce back after losses. You're never as good as you are when you win. I mean, you're never as bad as you think you are when you lose. All these things translate into life. How to be a giver, how to constantly share. You never lose out by sharing the ball. The screener is always open. These are things that you're forever grateful for. A challenge comes our way. Most people will break down. I look at my wife. I say, no, I got this. Basketball taught me to handle this. Like, I got this, and it's just like, you miss a lot of shots in basketball, and you got to learn how to get up and take another one. So, basketball, when it's done the right way and it's taught the right way, and you're surrounded by people who really believe in you, it's a blessing for your whole life.
It is. I'll write it in the notes after this call, but just for anybody who doesn't know it or doesn't read them. So Tamir is an Orthodox Jew, and his ability to play, he could have played at any Division I level school I wanted. He was going to play in an ACC school in Maryland, high level. But his religious beliefs were such that he couldn't play on Saturdays. And from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night, which is a large part of a Division I basketball schedule, and he was able to take that love for the game, but also morph the hardship, and then find another way to play the game, use the game, and also become to live out his dream. And then, of course, along the way, you get banged up. I read the story. You got a little knee injury when you were in your 20s, and but before that, your resilience is just so noteworthy to me. So would you mind, again, I'll shut up. Would you mind telling me, I mean, how did you get that resilience to say, I'm still going to play, but I can't do it this way, but I still have to find a way to work my love of the game and allow me to play somehow, some way?
Well, my grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. She survived 2 concentration camps, and
Savta.
she raised Safta. That's right, my Safta. She raised us. So, you're growing up with someone who survived 2 concentration camps. That hero is raising you every single day. Breakfast, helping you fall asleep at night. Like, so just being around her was so inspirational because she taught me the power of having a good identity and understanding who you are and working from in out instead of letting society dictate what you can or cannot do, or letting society tell you who you are. And she was so impressive in that she suffered the greatest tragedies in the world that anyone could ever see. Okay, her parents were burnt in Auschwitz. Okay, she suffered 2 concentration, savage suffering, but she chose to live a life of happy, meaning, giving, sharing, caring, sweetness, and kindness. Even though she had all that, it was a constant battle. It was a battle in her mind and in her heart. She knew who she was, and she didn't let everyone else say, hey, because you went through all this in your childhood, you're a victim and you need to be miserable the rest of your life, which is
Right.
kind of, she said, well, here's who I am. And, here's what I'm choosing to do. And being around that every day was such a blessing
Mm.
because the inspiration, there's no greater inspiration. So I always wanted to make her proud. I know the sacrifices that she made for humankind, for goodness and kindness, and that helped me with my decision making process throughout my life.
Mm.
And there was times when I remember specifically once in 7th grade where I had a really bad game, and I actually played varsity in 7th grade. I was on the varsity team. I had a bad game, and I wanted to play really badly, and and I played terribly. And then I saw her after the game, and I was like, okay, this is a basketball game. My grandmother was here, survived 2 concentration camps. Like,
Right.
I got to pick myself up and get a smile on my face. So she was always there to lift me up, and being around her was incredible.
Mm. It's obviously translates into every part of who you are and what you're doing and your vibe, your ethos, your energy. It's just palpable, honestly. It's palpable. So you're right. You have a great deal to be thankful that she's in your life, and obviously you hers. Because I think I told you this when I met another Holocaust survivor, Dr. Edith Eger, and she told me her grandkids are her revenge to Hitler. She was in a very similar circumstance. I mean, almost seemingly identical for whatever that's worth. I mean,
And they also look very similar. They also look very similar. My
it,
grandmother looks very similar to her.
oh, is that right? That's crazy. Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
lessons and these people, we have to learn these things, right? We don't have to, but boy, what they're trying so hard to help us, right?
Right.
And so forth. You talked to me about before we hit the record button about people get the wrong idea of religion. What does it most remind you of? You say when you get up in the morning, you say a prayer, but it's not so much the prayer as talk. I don't want to translate your words again.
Yeah,
Tell me about
I
it.
think a lot of times religion gets a bad reputation because seemingly obsessive with God's requests, and that turns people off. Does God really care? If I wake up and the first thing I do is acknowledge God, like why is God so obsessed with the constant, seemingly demands and requests? But the truth is, it's not about God. It's about us. God is giving us a manual. It's like you get a new phone, it gives you a manual to maximize the phone. Don't leave this phone in the heat for too long because it's not good for the phone. Or don't get it wet or whatever it is. It's the lessons from God. It's God's manual to let us live a happy and meaningful life. For example, when we get up in the morning, the first thing acknowledging God, it's not so much about God. It's the healthiest thing for us is being in the moment, being mindful, meaningful. Like, okay, I have a new day today. Like, what an unbelievable blessing to start the day that way, and not start the day with like emails and phone calls and texts, because we're already, if we start our day like that, then we're already letting the world dictate our happiness, our mood, our energy. Whereas if you start off the day empowered, you stand up and you say, thank God, here's another day. I know life flies by. I'm going to live this day to the fullest. I'm going to maximize my potential in and out, inspire everyone else around me, crush my daily goals, and do it with a smile on my face. That's the healthiest way to start a day. Being in the moment, being mindful. And I think a lot of times religion is perceived the wrong way, because a lot of times it's not about God. It's really about us, fulfilling the playbook. You listen to your coach, you're more than likely going to win the game. So
over time, that's exactly right. I mean, the mindful part is just, is that something you always had?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm 40 now, and I grow and I increase, but like, if you think about it, if you do things and you're not mindful of it, right, then it's almost like you didn't do it. I used to think about like pregame meals, for example, with the team. So in Judaism, we're very big on blessings before the meals. Okay. So it helped me so much, because it's like, I'm not just eating because I'm hungry, I'm eating because I want to have power to serve God and better the world and do good things. And I need the energy. I can't do it without my body functioning. So, I used to, this is just like one example of like, okay, everyone's a pregame meal, but before I eat, I'm like thinking, I'm totally in the moment. Why am I eating? What am I eating? What time is it? Like everything in Judaism, the blessings are at certain hours, at certain minutes, at certain times. You're completely in the moment. So after you're done eating, you're so aligned with your mind, body, and soul, because you acknowledge, you're mindful. I just ate. I know how long this food should last in my body. The game's like in 2 or 3 hours from now, and I should be able to maximize my potential on the court. Instead of, hey, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink. Well, then it's almost like you get to the game and you're like, did I even eat? Did I even drink? Like,
Right.
you're not mindful. So a lot of times the mindfulness is putting you in the moment, is maximizing your potential. And growing up with the Jewish values helped me so much, with basketball, because a lot of Judaism is being in the moment.
The only one we got at the moment, right? I mean, it
Exactly.
just, but to acknowledge it is, the world's moving also at a very quick pace, even quicker. Seemingly, we talked about it, and even in the video of yours I watched, and your coach was saying if you were playing in this world with the TikTok world. Look, before we got on this call, I saw your oldest boy, and within, oh God, it had to be less than 60 seconds, and you're thousands of miles away. I had a TikTok video of your boy shooting jump shots. The world is just moving fast, right? I mean, TikTok videos can go all over I'm not going to share it with anybody, but the point is,
Right.
these things are crazy, and that's how fast the world moves. So being mindful of the moment is harder and harder, I would say. How do you think about that, actually being, having the faith that you have, having the experiences you've had? I mean, your story is, I mean, we could talk about dyslexia, whatever, but let's bounce to being a parent of a young athlete. And how do you keep your young athlete's son focused with the world moving 8 billion miles an hour, and someone as talented as him?
Yeah, the blessing is the blessing of Sabbath. When I was younger, and we would tell kids, our friends that weren't Jewish, hey, I don't watch TV now from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. We don't answer the phone. We just spend that time with our family, friends, have a meal where our parents know they are 1,000,000% present. If the phone rings, my parents are not jumping up to get the phone. They're going to sit and talk to us, think about our purpose in the world, play board games, enjoy good food, talk about, our struggles, what we're working on, our relationship with the world, our relationship with God. No distractions, just working from in out instead of out in.
Yeah.
It was hard for people to understand that. people used to say back, in the 80s or early 90s, like, you guys are, I can't believe you do this. Like, how can you not drive? How can you not drive? How can you not go shopping, from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday? How can you not work? But all these years later, now everyone's realized there's a lot of people that aren't even Jewish are saying, hey, on Friday night, let's put away the phones, look at each other in the eyes and communicate and take a moment to thank God for everything we have. It's like the greatest thing you have. So here, especially in Israel, especially in Jerusalem, when everything shuts down for the Sabbath, for Shabbat, it grounds you for the entire week. It empowers you for the entire week. And they say, like, if it wasn't for Shabbat, there probably wouldn't be Jews anymore. We were persecuted too many times in too many places in too many countries over too many years. But Shabbat is what always united us. And because of Shabbat, we're still here. And I think that the blessing of Shabbat is now penetrating the rest of the world. I see high-tech CEOs that aren't even Jewish that are celebrating their way of celebrating Shabbat and realizing how empowering it really is.
One of my, I guess, favorite self-help books, or whatever you want to call personal improvement, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I have 2 copies on my desk right now. And Dr. Covey talks about the Sabbath, talks about it in the 7th habit, sharpen the saw, which is, and he talks about it like rest the land, whatever analogy you want to use. So, and I'm Jewish, of course, but I mean, for perspective, for, everything, it's not so much just that. It's this opportunity it's a genius model. Say it any way you want, right? And not to demean any of it, but just the concept of mindful, right? Tamir, to go back to mindful, know that you have to
You
be, that
gotta
you have to
focus on your soul. We can't just keep going and going and going and going. The body's going to crash at some point. At some point, we need it, at least once a week, to focus on our soul. Who are we? What are we doing in this world? What are my priorities? What does my family mean to me? What does my community mean to me? How do I eat? When do I eat? What are my intentions when I eat? How do I look at my wife in her eyes? And am I able to listen? Can I spend one time a week just listening to what's going on in my kids' class? What's going on with their teachers? What's going on with their friends? What's going on with my wife at work? What is she thinking about? What are her hopes? What are her dreams? What are her aspirations? And I am not distracted. I am 1,000,000% able to just listen and take it in and look at her and say, I'm listening to you, honey. I love you. And it is such a refresher. The world needs it more than ever.
In case anybody can't tell, it's oozing through the screen. Your sincerity of it. Oh, to me, it is, honestly. I'm not being patronizing at all. I mean, I'm inspired, that much more. There's okay, so your story, as I said before, is, you had a big basketball dream. Big. I mean, you were a highly regarded kid. Very highly regarded. If anybody wants to watch, go on TamirGoodman.com and watch it. Tamir was very highly regarded player. 99.9999999 people ever touched the ball couldn't come close to the regard and the level that which you played and were capable of. And yet your hoop dream, as it were, right, in the traditional model that everybody thinks, I'm going to play here, and then go to NBA and make $1 gazillion. It's obviously very, very, very thin odds, slim odds, but you have taken the game and used it for the rest of your life and in the rest of your life. So for most of these people, the 99.99999% who won't make their living playing, somebody walked up to you in the street. I heard your story. I'm struggling. What would you tell this kid, this young person who's come to grips with they're not going to make their living in the gym as an athlete?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I would say, first of all, I would acknowledge their pain and their struggle and say, I understand and I appreciate it. I can relate. And I think that
would you tell us how you could relate real quick so I could hear from your mouth?
Yeah, because I was the ranked 25th best player in the nation. You know, I was the MVP of the Capital Classic All-Star game against the best players in the country. You know, I was recruited to top schools. You know, I had all that, but at the end of the day, you know, I was able to fulfill my mission. I did play Division I, which was my goal, on scholarship without playing on Shabbat. You know, I did play professionally without playing on Shabbat. I did reach my goal, but the bottom line is I blew my knee out in my first pro season. And when I should have been in my prime, I was basically done.
Yep.
So I can relate. I can relate. But I think we need to redefine success. If I was able to stay healthy, 1,000,000% my stats would have been better, and a lot of people would have viewed my life differently. But I don't know if I would have reached my potential as a human had it not been for my injuries, setbacks, and the things that I went through. They made me a better person. They made me more sensitive. They made me more creative. They made me a better person, 1,000,000 times better person, and allowed me to reach my understand and go after my true mission in this world. And had I not gotten hurt, I just don't think I would have been able to fulfill my potential as a human and what God was expecting me to accomplish when we brought my soul down to this world. So I would tell the person, yes, I appreciate the struggle, and it's very hard. But the challenge of you not making your dreams fall into place the way you hope them to doesn't mean you're not a winner, doesn't mean you're not fulfilling your mission in this world and accomplishing exactly what you're supposed to be accomplishing. And the challenge isn't here to break you and make you sad and turn you into a victim. It's here to help you find your inner calling and your true potential. And if you keep going and, you know, pick up the messages along the way, make the right changes and switches and pivots, you're going to look back and say, man, this life could have not been any more perfect than the way it turned out for me. And you're going to have a happy, meaningful feeling of accomplishment that most people in the world don't have.
Tamir's a basketball player. Obviously, probably my favorite game I've coached, but for anybody who's really listening, his analogies are switches and pivots. So he said to us earlier, you know, the game teaches you so many lessons, right? And anecdotal to life. And now you're talking about switches and pivots, you know, basketball analogy, but pivoting and switching other parts of your life, right? And it's true, right? I mean, it's a step. It's not the end all. Why do you think so many people have trouble losing the not going to play part, right? And then figure out a next step. What do you think it is? Because it is a look. It's why I do the work I do. But this is not about me. But I know it's almost a pandemic of people losing their belief in themselves. Why do you think that is?
I think that we need to redefine success.
Yes.
I think the world, you know, especially now where everything is about seemingly showing the materialistic things of having a nice car, having nice clothes, having nice shoes, having all that. Like that's kind of like the be all and end all. But the truth is you could have all that and still be miserable. Okay. and we need to put focus back on character, focus back on transcending. That's my favorite word, transcending situations, you know. And until we do that, people are going to get hurt and give up really quickly, because when we don't know what true success is, okay, the people that are there and seemingly have the true success and don't feel that success are miserable. I've seen it with a lot of players in the locker rooms over the years. Number two is a person who can potentially be an incredible person. They have great character. You know, they win each day, but yet they still don't have the fancy shoes and fancy cars and fancy. They could be really sad and crushed, even though they have no reason to be sad and crushed. They're absolute winners. So until we redefine success, we're going to be pretty lost. And unfortunately, we're saying that.
Yeah, it's really true. I think it's another pandemic, and you know, in my view of the world and so forth. But it's true, and redefining success is great. when you blew out your knee, just a quick give me a 1 minute flashcard way that Tamir redefined success, because you blew out your knee, right? You weren't going to play anymore, not how you could. How did
Right.
you figure
Well,
out
most
redefining
proud
success?
moment. I'm more proud of this. No one realizes it, but I'm more proud of the second part of my career than I was the first part of my career, because I never gave up, Barry. 7 years. I went to rehab for 7 years.
Shut up.
Year and a half, I came back. I lost every muscle in my leg after the surgery. I had 17 points in 20 minutes in my first game back, pro. I
Hmm.
look at my wife after the game. We got in the car, and she's like, thinking like she has, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. We're back. And I say, guess what though? She's like, what? I'm like, I can't feel my left knee again.
Hmm.
Like my first game back. And I kept on going and going and going. In other words, because I never quit and I pushed myself to tears in training and rehab every single day until that seventh year, that's 2009 season. I looked at Todd Golden, who's now the coach
Sure.
at the
At
Gators.
Florida,
He was
yeah.
my teammate. I said, God doesn't want me to play basketball anymore. I didn't say that after the first time I got hurt.
Yeah.
Because I overcame, and I came coming back for 7 years, and I beat the odds for 7 years. And then when I finally got that hurt that last time in 2009, I was at ease with it as much as possible, because I knew God doesn't want to play basketball anymore. There was no
Yep.
way. I just, I physically, it was literally impossible at that point. So I'm glad I never quit early,
Sure.
so if that answers your question.
No, it does. It just, the whole ethos of keep going, right? Enjoy the day and optimize the day. It kind of comes back to that, right? In some way, shape, or form. And no, I mean, it's just joy to talk with you, honestly. And I agree, but again, it's palpable really through the screen. When I do these things, I ask people to educate, inspire, and entertain, and I think you've done the first two. So along this road of never quitting and gleaning energy and ethos and whatever else from your grandma, and of course trying to optimize your talents and be a great dad and be a great husband and so forth. I mean, you have great businesses. I don't want to make this an infomercial for Aviv Nets, but people can certainly read about these things. They're incredibly cool. We can talk about it in a minute, but tell me what this is maybe a hard question, Tamir. The most entertaining story, funny story, whatever you could tell us along this crazy road that you've not crazy, but certainly journey from a prep star to 40-year-old dad of five and entrepreneur and overall good dude. Tell me a funny story.
I'll tell you a funny story. Is proud of you. The day of the Capital Classic All-Star game, we were in the morning shoot around. The Wizards were coming off the floor. The Washington Wizards had their morning shoot around, and then we were coming on after that. And they had an all-star point guard at the time. His name was Rod Strickland.
Sure.
And Rod Strickland leaves the Wizards as we're high school kids coming on the court, and he comes over to me and he says, "Hey, are you the Jewish kid that I read about in the paper?" I said, "Maybe." I was so shocked by I was a fan of his. I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Well, I bought a ticket. I'm coming back to watch you play in the game tonight, in the All-Star game." I'm like, wow, that means the world to me. So went to shoot around. And then that night we came back to the game, and I was feeling really nervous before the game because, everybody was at this game. It was a huge thing. And I run over to my high school coach, and I said, "Hey, coach, have any last second pointers here before I get on this floor?" He says, "Yeah, you're Jewish, right?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, how's that going to help me now? How does that help me with the All-Star game?" He said, "Well, there's a concept in Judaism that you always have to be thankful and say thank you." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, did Rod Strickland tell you he was going to come back tonight?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, he's sitting right there at half court. Go over to him, say thank you, and then come back to me." I ran over to him right before the game, and I shook his hand. I said, "Thank you. It means the world to me that you came to the game tonight." Came back to my coach. My coach says, "Look, don't take any extra dribbles and you're going to be all right." And he sent me out there, and I won the MVP. But what was he teaching me? It's such a great message for anyone that's feeling nervous before a game or nervous before anything else in life, do something small to help your juices going, to help your confidence going. And if it means, hey, go and say, when you say thank you to someone, you yourself feel better. It already puts you in a better mood.
Yep.
So I always tell players now, based on what my coach taught me, it's a funny story, but there's something so beautiful. If you feel it's very hard to get off the bench and hit a 3-pointer, if you're not a starter, or do something big in the game. But start by doing something small. Players come on over to the bench. Hey, great job out there. You were looking great. Listening to the coach extra during a timeout. Just do something that you can control that's small, that's seemingly small, but just to get you in a good vibe and a good confidence going. So when you get your chance, you're much more likely to succeed. And my coach taught me that night, and I share it with everyone. It's a funny story, but there's something very special about it. Do something small that you can control to get yourself going, and then eventually you'll be able to hit the big shot or make the big deal at the meeting or whatever it is anyone's going through in life.
Yeah, tiny is large, right? It really is. Tiny is anyway. So you are. I agree, and I was going to talk about another book called Tiny Habits, but I'll leave it alone. So you are an entrepreneur now. You are involved in Aviv Basketball Nets and the Zone 190 training, and you run basketball camps. Tell me about your businesses.
Well, I'm very, very dyslexic. I could barely read and write till today or do basic arithmetic. Okay. But when you're very dyslexic, you work a certain part of your brain constantly that other people don't exercise. And that part of your brain makes you very creative, very sensitive, and very solutions oriented. Okay. So everything that I do falls under that category. So as far as coaching the kids and everything, I can see things in the kids that other people aren't seeing because of my dyslexia.
Yep.
Okay. And my sensitivity and everything so how can I help maximize these players? Okay. So that's all the camps and clinics, cultural diversity clinics. How can we bring people together, focus on commonalities instead of differences? So it all falls under that umbrella. And then with the products, they're all solutions oriented. Well, there's a lot of germs and bacteria, and the ball's really slippery. And basketball, it's a gross basketball if you think about it. Well, why don't we create the net, antimicrobial, moisture wicking, so there's less turnovers, the ball's less slippery, and it's cleaner. There's less bacteria, and the greatest real estate on a basketball court is the net. It's the most looked down upon thing. Billions and billions of views, highlights on Instagram and TikTok, slow motion of people dunking. Well, why can't we use that as an advertising space? It's the most sought after space. There's people advertising behind the backboard, on the sidelines. Well, Aviv Net is keeping their players safer. It's allowing them to play better, and it's allowing your brand or your company to either put your custom logo of your team, and push that, or get a corporate sponsor so that you can make more money for your program, or help your sponsors. The sponsors love it too. So it's all solutions oriented.
I love it. When you told me about that the other day when we spoke, the little diamond on the net with I thought it was genius. But keep going again. This is not about me. I'm just saying I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So everything I'm involved in, working with a company that's actually in California called Fabric that is using the technology to change fan engagement around the world. Instead of just, everyone's going to the game now and just focused on their phone, looking at their phone. Well, this actually is a metaverse company that allows you to meet in the metaverse, meet digitally, but then takes you through next steps where you're going to actually, because it's geospatial, it knows where you are, to meet up with people in real life. So it's taking this technology and bringing human relationships back to the fold, and doing that in sporting venues and stadiums at the highest level. So I love that. Again, it's thinking of solutions, resolutions, bettering the world. There's a concept in Judaism called tikkun olam. Like if God shows you something that you could do to better the world, well, then God's making you the messenger to partner with God and make that happen. You are the person that has those capabilities, contacts, network, passion, everything you need to make that happen. So that's how I do it. Like if I feel like I see something that I could partner with God and better the world in, then it's my job to go ahead and do it. and I'll do it. And whether it's my new movie project or my book about being a dyslexic basketball player, it all comes under this category of hopefully helping and inspiring and doing better for the world.
Yeah, I mean, again, dyslexic, blown out knee, uh, the list goes on, and here you are, right? So you're first of all, I'm really grateful that you took the time, and I'm really now proud to know you. I feel very honored. Honestly, I do, that you took the time to do this with me. And me personally, I'm just going to try to get this shared. So much of your story resonates to some of the work that I'm trying to do, but I want to try to get it shared, as much as possible with my own kids. And so I thank you so much. You're obviously a busy guy. You got companies and kids and all these things. So your time is very, very appreciated. I think I told you when we spoke the other day, I'm going to try to see if I can get a hall pass and get a job on come and work in one of your camps this summer. I don't charge any money. I just want to kind of watch it and help where I can.
We would love to have you. I value friendships and relationships, and I consider you a dear friend, and looking forward to many years of friendships.
I appreciate it, Tamir. Stay safe so much, and thank you for so much. Well, thank you for what you're doing for everybody, and again for taking this time. I really do appreciate it. And for anybody this call is recorded on New Year's Eve where I am. 2022, and in Israel it's already 2023. So happy and healthy New Year to you and your family. And again, thank you so much for taking the time.
Blessings. Thank you so much.
You be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.